Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are so excited to have you all tuning in today. We have a jam-packed session that I think you all will find a lot of value in. But before I do hand it off to our speakers, I did want to go over a couple housekeeping tips. First, we want this session to be very interactive, so please do utilize the Q&A widget on the bottom right of your screen to ask our presenters any questions that you may have. We will be monitoring the chat throughout today's webinar. And next, I'd like to introduce our speakers. We are so fortunate today to have Lisa Happy here with us, Head of Venture Capital at SAP Concur, Zach Watson, who's a value consultant here, and John Solomon, who's a solutions consultant also here at SAP Concur. And now, without any further ado, I will hand it off to Lisa.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone who has joined the call today. I'm Lisa Happy, based out of Spokane, Washington. I am the head of venture capital partnerships for SAP Concur. I've been here for 9 years now. I'm going to do a quick overview of our venture capital program at Concur. Then I'll pass it over to my colleagues, Zach and John, to hear about Zach's journey as a VC-backed company and the challenges he's faced, and John, who is our senior solutions consultant, an expert on Concur products and solutions and how to best support VC-backed companies as they are in growth mode. So a quick overview on the VC program. Within my position, I work with VC firms to put partnerships in place that benefit you as the portfolio company. Since you were invited to this conversation today, one or more of your investors is part of our VC program, which gives you a wealth of benefits. Some which include having myself as an extra layer of support during your Concur journey and really helping you to optimize your Concur solution. Another benefit is you have access to pre-negotiated discounts from those relationships in place with your investors. We also will do exclusive webinars like we are today, go over best practices amongst VC-backed companies. So you can look forward to those moving forward as well. I also wanted to mention, as part of our global VC team, we have two counterparts to assist globally, which are Henna and Ray, who I work closely with to support companies needing any global support. And then last but not least, obviously SAP is a major organization, and there are many programs for you to be part of as a portfolio company. We also have access to Grow with SAP for scale-ups. So this is an offering that SAP has really created for VC-backed companies, helps to future-proof growth while structuring your business with best practices, transaction automation, and really operational scalability. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Zach to talk a little bit about his journey.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Watson. I'm the director of the value consulting team here at SAP Concur. I've been a Concur advocate for over 10 years now. My journey starting at the place that is relevant for today's message on how to best set your path to success in spend management in your high growth company. So about 10 years ago, I was an accountant at a high growth VC backed company. And we were going to set the world on fire. It was pre-IPO. We were growing fast. Some of the statistics there on the screen of 260% headcount growth in 2 years. That's a real intangible growth trajectory, and I was tasked with managing the spend portion of that for our company. So I selected Concur, I implemented it and administered it at my company. And after my time in the startup world was done, I chose to join Concur, and I've been here ever since. So like I said, I was part of a pre-IPO VC-backed company. We were growing fast, and I put in there and growing up. As you well know, in a hyper-growth environment, things change rapidly, and you need to change with it. So it's tasked with scaling our business from a spend management. And so maybe you're like me, maybe you're in or expect growing pains similar, but you're trying to figure out, hey, what do I need to do to grow up, to keep pace? we were in a situation where we had a basic spend management solution, but it just wasn't scalable for the needs and the places we were going to go as a business. I mentioned the 260% headcount growth in 2 years, but in that same time, we only grew the back office staff 50%. So as you can tell, it's not a commensurate rise in the same amount of staffing. So we had to do more with less, and so we had to be very smart with the technology solutions we chose. So trying to stay a step or two ahead of the growth trajectory, keeping your sanity in and above it all. Those are some of the things I hope to illuminate in partnership with my friend John today as we walk through some solutioning. So what are some of the challenges that come with rapid expansion? Some of the things that I experienced, inconsistency that comes with growth. I think we're all familiar with how that can transpire on a day-to-day basis. But some of the things I saw were the application of spend management policy. It was just inconsistent. It just was, it changed by the need of the moment and the pattern and the phase of growth that we were in. An inconsistent employee experience with tools, training, and adoption. For instance, we had a shared credit card with lots of random access and surprise charges that we had to chase down each and every month. And I was just like, every time I thought I had a full grip on who had access to that card, there was always somebody else that got that number and started charging some things to it. So quickly became a real problem that we had a solution for. Incorrect payments of vendors. So this is not paying the wrong vendor necessarily, but it's just paying the right vendor at the wrong time. So for instance, we would end up paying some vendors on credit cards. Vendors would tack on extra fees because of credit card charges and processing that. We'd have SLA violations, of contractual obligations and gate points of a specific contractor, SLA. So you name it, we had all those headaches, and they ended up being surprises more than they were expected. So using that as a segue into vendor control, it's very wise to formalize a vendor approval process to ensure you're capturing required documentation and ensuring the efficiency of your spend. So know who you're paying and why, and thinking about forward thinking to your year-end needs. Do you have full control and ability to report when the time comes? So think about 1099s. And we were signing on vendors so fast, and the folks that were signing on vendors were not, necessarily had it on their radar to chase down those tax forms, and it fell to us. And so having a formalized vendor approval process can help with that greatly. Maximizing any rebates. So talking about efficiency of spend, any early payment discounts that you might be able to take advantage of that in an uncontrolled spend environment you just cannot do. Common areas of spend leakage, travel booked outside of policy. This is a huge one. We found once we put a policy in place and once we put everybody into booking within a platform when we chose Concur, that we saved $500,000 in the first year of our operation once we had Concur in place. Mileage costs, that's a common area of leakage. Do you have a tool to use people to track their miles rather than just ballpark estimating, especially if your business is heavily reliant on ground transportation travel. Entertainment, that's obviously a wide category, along with miscellaneous spend, those being extra broad categories that can end up being a catch-all and can end up having some pretty wild spend that's hidden in there. So knowing also where growth will take you. So having advanced notice of new markets and locations, that was key for me to understand, like, hey, we're going to be breaking into the UK, we're going to be breaking into South Korea. These were things that I knew I need to have tools and systems set up to help us with. And so having that knowledge and ability to adapt to those growth patterns and advance notice of them is huge. Employee experience. I always want to say to people in similar situations, be aware of including yourself in the employee experience. And that was one thing that I learned, was having a crisp and clear back end to all this spend management was going to help me out greatly. And when I came in, it was pivot table, it was handoff information to payroll just under the wire to make payroll deadlines. It was a headache. But if you've got all this automated for you with the right tools, with the right processes, it's going to help you a lot. Also, having the proper options for training and adoption are important as well. So what works today may not work tomorrow. So just a note of choosing technology and vendor options carefully. I just knew at the time I didn't have the full picture of what Concur could do for me, but I knew the experience that Concur had, the platform that Concur had, would allow me to scale the business at the level I needed to. A lack of visibility can lead to budget surprises, and driving spend to approved channels, putting a limit on what is expensible, just to kind of tamp down on, again, that definition around entertainment and miscellaneous, like we just spoke about. Where is the data? Lack of visibility parlays greatly into where can I find my data? What can I do with it once I have my hands on it? How can I harness that data? That helps eliminate some of the budget surprises that come with hyper growth. I can't tell you how many times we had marketing or engineering or product development slam on the brakes saying, whoa, why is my budget so out of whack? And we had to pull a bunch of information, help them out with that. There's ways, and there's lots of slick opportunities that Concur has available that you can start to leverage and get ahead of those budget surprises, give people real-time information or near real-time information that can help with cash flow management and budgeting. So acknowledging what makes us unique. So one theme I want to talk about today is about policy. Every business is unique. There is a lot of things to celebrate in that. But what the first step you need to make is getting into that Wild West avoidance, just where anything and everything goes and the spend is all over the map, just like I kind of described some of my anecdotes here. We knew when we were adopting Concur, we had to put a better policy into place. So when I say that, I say we need to have a policy that's sound but able to be adopted. You know, sometimes people overbuild a policy and it just gets so restrictive that people can hardly move, any sort of spend through the system, bottlenecks, and we all know what those policy can look like. We've perhaps experienced them at other companies. Focusing on non-compliant spend and not fraud. Not saying that there is not fraud out there, not saying that fraud won't happen, but the focus should be on non-compliant spend. And what that is definitely up to you and your company. And so ensuring that non-compliant spend is defined. And there's 100 stories out there about how people have been able to work around things, the rules, and ultimately they're doing non-compliant spend, but in a compliant way. So being aware of that. And just a couple notes here of, are you very cost conscious? Then you can definitely apply strict rules and use tools to authorize spend before it happens. And a platform like Concur has those tools. Or are you like my company? We were a bit more relaxed and everything was all about accelerating expansion. That's where you can put in, use some of those same tools just to build in guidance, but have flexibility for things such as executive travel. If executives get a different type of travel experience, you want to be able to allow for that. Candidate travel, if you're flying people in with just a couple days notice and you have to restrict and loosen some of the cost parameters around travel, then you can do that as well. Finally, solutioning for success. I found my experience was people want to do the right thing. And that's a great thing to experience, and just making sure that you're giving people the training and the guidance, not just documentation, but the training and the guidance that they need to succeed within the approved policy, gives them accountability. Again, going back to the budget visibility, to the spend accountability piece it's critical for people to have those things solved for them. And I think a platform like Concur can do that for you. A single platform, the simplicity of a consolidated platform helps tremendously with the policy enforcement. It was night and day difference for us once we switched over to Concur and had it running on all cylinders. Having, having expense and invoice and corporate card feeds and even a budget tool under the same roof is priceless. Being able to report that info, dispense that info at the appropriate time. Remember that adage of doing more with less from a headcount perspective. Leveraging technology to do more with less. Acknowledge that human eyes can't always catch non-compliant spend, and it's not automatically fraud, but human eyes can't always catch that. And manage and just a quick tip is managers aren't always the best line of defense for catching spend compliance violations. John's going to show some examples of this in his portion coming up here in a minute, but I just can't tell you how jealous I am that about these new options that Concur has that exist within our portfolio of products, such as AI and ML options to enhance this monitoring. John will show you a little bit more about that, but the ability to adjust your tolerances to company standards and only focus on the patterns and examples that AI can show you, it's going to reduce valuable back office time, and it's going to help with that efficient expense reimbursement, approval, and payout. And then lastly, just think into the future. Who can you leverage to help scale and grow? Another thing that I'm a bit jealous about in today's environment is having access to someone like Lisa and the PE VC team here at Concur. Having access to those best practices that others are experiencing and applying in similar situations, having that pre-negotiated pricing and dedicated team support is just fantastic. So I encourage you to avail yourself of that. So in just summation, it's a wild ride in the VC-backed space, but yet it's a lot of fun. A lot of fond memories I have of my time managing our environments 10 years ago, and leveraging the right tools such as the one that Concur offers can make your ride a whole lot smoother and more enjoyable. So lean in on what John has to share next, and as you digest my portions and my anecdotes plus John's examples, think of questions you may have, and we'd be happy to answer them. So I'll pass it over to John.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach. And thank you everyone for joining. I'm John, solutions consultant here at Concur. And really what that means is I get to do fun show and tells for Concur prospects, or mainly clients. I work in our client development space. So they're clients who are already leveraging Concur's best-in-class travel, expense, or invoice, and they're saying, what else can we do, right? What is Concur rolling out? What technologies are Concur using now? Specifically AI, right? It wouldn't be 2024 webinar without some AI conversations and things along those lines. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to kind of walk through some of the pieces that Concur, some of the products that we have that you can use, and that most VC-backed companies nowadays are leaning into to run more smooth and simple. Today, we've picked 4 specific pieces. We're going to talk about Concur Request. We're going to talk about Concur Budget. We're going to look at travel rules, which is really neat and interesting for utilizing the Concur travel platform and how you can get some better visibility and insight into any policy pieces, or making sure that your employees are spending the right amount of dollars and not just spending way more than they need to. And then one of my favorite components we're going to look at today is Concur Verify. This is the auditing tool leveraging AI. So with that, I'm going to get my screen shared out, and we'll start on the request piece. So bear with me. Let's get my screen shared here, and I'll give it just a minute to load. All right. And Zach or team, can you confirm that you can see this here?
I think it's still loading.
Right.
Yeah, it hasn't quite moved to the big screen yet. So.
There we go. I can see your screen
Perfect.
now.
Excellent. Wonderful. All right. So what we're looking at here today is a Concur homepage, right? The Concur dashboard. Many of you on the call today may already have Concur Expense, Invoice, these products. If not, this is your landing page. This is where the employees will log in, they'll book their travel, they can create expense reports, all their credit card transactions flow through. If they snap a picture of a receipt using Expense-It, the OCR pulls the data, matches it to the credit card, all those best-in-class features. What we also have layered in on the request portion is the ability to get truly proactive about spend. And what that means with the typical setup of an expense report, right? Those dollars are already out the door. It's been spent and you're totally reactive. You're saying, okay, John spent all this and now we need to approve it. Or he used his corporate card and that needs to get paid one way or the other. Was it in compliance? Were we okay with him spending these dollars? Concur request is essentially a pre-expense report or a permission slip to go on a trip or to buy equipment, things along those lines. What your employees will have the ability to do is go in and click create a new request, right? When they create a new request, they'll fill out some information for their approver, their manager, and it's very straightforward. Request name, if it's a trip, start date, end date, when are you going? You can give some more details. What's the purpose of this trip? I need to go check on project A with this client. All your cost tracking fields, which are totally customizable to your organization, company, division, department, you may have project, and then any other details you want. Concur has layered in AI, SAP Concur's AI, into this request tool to say, hey, okay, you're traveling from these dates from this city to this city. We can help you by estimating what we think that cost should be, right? For a flight and hotel or train, whatever you want to use. And by using this tool, your employees will have the benefit of being able to look at what most trips are looking like industry-wide and how much they should be spending. So the AI is analyzing it, saying, okay, John, you need travel from Rochester, New York to Tampa, Florida, 6/2 to 6/6. I need a flight and hotel, right? The AI has said, okay, well, the flight from Rochester to Tampa should be about $500. A mid-range hotel is about $800 for those 4 nights. It gives me a total of $1,300. I can make some adjustments to this saying, hey, I want a first class nonstop and I need a 4-star hotel. I can regenerate, rerun it through AI and get some more details where it says, all right, now your trip, you're looking at $2,000 for the flight. The hotel is about $1,000 for a 4-star, total $3,000. Your employees, all they had to do is check those boxes. Now they click create request. Essentially what we've done again is created line items, dollars to say, hey, these are dollars I want to spend for this purpose, to see this customer. I would then submit this request. It would go to my manager. My manager would have the option to look at this and say, hey, does this make sense for us to spend these dollars on? They're going to walk through. They can add additional expense types into here. Let's say we're going to take the customer out to dinner and there's 10 attendees we're going to have. That's going to be $1,500 additionally, or they're taking them to a show, right? They could give holistic view of what they think the spend is going to be. Ultimately, on this, when we click submit request, it's going to go to a manager, some sort of approval flow that you can customize for your organization, and your manager is going to be able to say yes or no to that. So I want to kind of segue into what it looks like for a manager and also look a little bit at what it looks like for a budget. So we talked request. We'll look at budget a little bit as well now. I'm going to pull this up, and we're doing this live, so you'll see some dynamic required approvals, things along those lines. But in here, when we go into the approvals, any requests, expense reports, purchase request invoices, depending on what you're using, your managers will get notified, push notifications to their app if they have an approval. But when they come in here, they'll say, okay, these are some expense reports or requests that I have to approve, right? So if we click on one of these, trip to New York client, or it could have been that request that we said trip to see customer, your managers are going to have the ability to not only see what was spent or what they're asking to spend, but they're also going to see budget details, right? So if we go in and we look at this expense report and we click view budget, in the background in Concur, we've built budgets to say, all right, John is part of the sales organization, right? And we have a sales travel budget annually of $50,000 or quarterly or whatever this looks like, right? Your managers will automatically have visibility into what approving either that request or the expense report, what it's going to do to their budget. So it says, all right, well, John's trip to New York client, the hotel is hitting our budget 2.5%. the airfare was 1.13%. This entire report is going to hit the budget 4.11%. Obviously, in a reactive state, it's good to know. The visibility is important, as Zach said, right? Getting that visibility into the spend. On the request side, before these dollars go out the door, same thing happens, right? That manager gets to look at this and say, uh-oh, hold on, I'm not good with spending 4% of my annual budget on John going to see this client or go see, visiting this project, whatever it may look like. All of that is embedded right in. Concur has alerts that it can flag, and it can say, hey, you're at 80% of your budget. This is a problem, right? We need to be careful on how much we spend and what we're doing going forward. On these reports, if we go back, if we look at any reports pending approval and we say trip to New York City, I do like to call out as well, right? This is an expense report that was created also with a request tied to it. This is one of the pieces, the audit rules, the visibility that's baked into Concur that you can build out and customize as well. It says this is over the amount requested, right? So we look at this airfare and it shows a summary. It says, hey, John submitted a request for this airfare. He thought it was going to be $275. He actually spent $375. He spent $100 over what he requested, right? And where that comes into play is reporting, metrics, process improvement type things, where you can say, hey, this year or this quarter or this month, John spent $5,000 more than he thought he would. We need him to better estimate what his travel is going to look like. And back to that AI, that's where that comes in handy for your employees and help them benefit that. Awesome. All right, so the next piece we're going to look at is Concur travel rules. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over into another demo environment here, and we're actually going to walk through booking travel and showing you what that looks like, but also more importantly, showing what the travel rules are going to do. I just want to check in. Can everyone still see my screen here okay?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So on this homepage here, again, another Concur dashboard, employees log in, they've got all their available expenses, any reports they're working on, approvals, so on and so forth. But we also have to, book a trip. So in this case, I sign into Concur. All of my default, my favorites are here, right? The airport I fly out of. In my profile, I'm going to have all of my rewards programs, frequent flyer programs, so I can still get points. And all of those leveraged benefits are still there for me as an employee. But ultimately, if I come in here and I say, I need to go to Tampa, right? We're going to Tampa, Florida, and we give it dates. We say we're going from June 10th through June 13th. I can obviously adjust the hours. Do I need a rental car? Do I want to set up a rental car through Concur? Do I want a hotel within 5 miles of Tampa, Florida, within 5 miles of the Topgolf in Tampa? Whatever you want the map to focus on. But ultimately, I click search, and what it's going to do is now pull up flights and all of that. I've customized my Concur site to require travelers to give a little bit more information. These are required fields. So again, you're getting more proactive about it. You're knowing why John's traveling, what this is for, right? Trip to see client, anything you may want. These are required fields. You don't have to do this at all. Totally flexible on this. It could be a drop list of, who are you traveling with? At Concur, it's really simple for us. It's basically one question that says, is this internal or is this a client-facing meeting? Very simple question that we get. But ultimately on here, with all of the data that flows into Concur, it gives you all of the rates. It gives you all of the airlines. You can build in policy pieces on here, right? This is where the travel rules come into place, where you say, hey, John's not allowed to fly first class, but Lisa is, right? Or Lisa's part of this group that can see certain fares that John can't. You can limit it and really drive compliance on rates. Many companies use the basics in here, right? So on here it says, hey, John, there's a flight to Tampa for $222. But without any sort of managed travel program, there's flights out there for a lot more, almost $1,000 more. Without a managed travel program, these are fares that your employees could be booking, and you really have no way of telling if that's truly the best fare. So again, we had one that was $222. In Concur, what Concur can be set to do is basically have these rules, and it says, hey, hold on, John. You're trying to book a flight for $1,165 when there's one for $222 available. what's going on here, right? Give us a reason, and you can have some specific reasons loaded in your site or make them give an explanation of saying, why are you spending $1,000 more of the company money on this trip when there's one for the same turnaround time, the same sort of setup, much less? And it puts that onus on the employee to say, okay, do I want to send this to my manager to approve, or do I want to make the right choice and go back and choose the better rate, the better fares? So that's just a little example of some of the travel rules you can put in place. Many of the clients I partner with, they have dollar amount thresholds baked in to say, hey, if someone books over $500, I want extra eyes on it before, again, we ticket it before we allow that, those sort of things. Very, very flexible, and by group. You can set up different groups and different structures along those lines. Cool. So that's travel rules. The last piece we're going to talk about today, as I said, one of my favorites is verify. And Zach talked on this a little bit as well on how critical it was to have compliance, to have flexible compliance, whether it's just for fraud detection, whether it's just for policy detection. That's what we've baked into Concur. The biggest thing most clients struggle with is the fact that approvers are rubber stamping, right? And what that means is basically they're getting an expense report and not looking at it, or they're just clicking the approve button. Now, Concur has metrics to analyze that to say, hey, John had 10 expense reports come across the app, and he only looked at 2 receipts on those. So we have metrics for that as well. But really what VC-backed companies are looking at is to say, look, our managers, our approvers, we don't necessarily need or want them spending a ton of time checking receipts, checking these things. We want them out there running the business, running fast, right? And we can automate this using Concur Verify. And what Concur Verify does is it leverages a detection scenario library with machine learning and AI, and it looks at all of these tasks that are super manual today. The most critical piece, in my opinion, is the receipt category, valid receipt versus expense. And essentially what that means is, does the receipt that I entered in Concur match the data that I entered in Concur? So an example of that is I could have a $15 parking receipt, right? I paid out of pocket, I had $15, I want to get reimbursed for it. I, in theory, could enter into Concur or any system $150, right? Whether it was accidental that I put that extra zero on, or whether it was malicious, right? I'm trying to get a whole bunch more money back. Without any sort of automation, that requires someone to check every line, every receipt. With Verify, this will automatically call it out. It scans the receipt, compares it to the data that was entered in Concur, and throws a flag up. It says, hey, John, hold on, right? You've entered 150. This is a $15 receipt. It puts it in an auditor's queue to check internally, and it says, why is John doing this? Is this a problem? Is it all right? And other items on that receipt as well. Date, anything to say, hey, this was office supplies, but John coded it as entertainment if it's off of the expense type. Itemized receipt is a huge piece as well. Many clients are requiring itemized receipts now to say, I went out to dinner. I don't just want a credit card slip. I need to see the itemized receipt so AI can scan for other components on here, right? To see if there was alcohol included. Our AI detection scenario library knows more alcoholic beverages than a bartender, and it can call those pieces out on a receipt saying, hold on, this is out of compliance, or it might be out of compliance. It's going to look at any pieces like a gift card, right? Let's say we went on a business meal. We took a whole bunch of people out and we tried to sneak a gift card through, $25 gift card or a handful of them. It's going to flag that and say, hey, hold on. You're not allowed to buy gift cards. Or maybe there's people internally who are allowed to buy gift cards. Essentially what this does is automates that, and it prevents any type of fraud slipping through or policy violations. It puts it into a queue for your auditors to check on. The last piece, anomaly and fraud, that's looking at duplicate receipts and transactions, any fake receipts. There's online receipt generators nowadays that it can check. Suspicious vendor by merchant code, that would be things along like a boat dealership. Let's say someone had swipes their corporate card at a boat dealer. This can flag and say, hey, that's weird. Why did John go to a boat dealer? Did he buy, a fix for his boat motor and he's trying to get reimbursed for that? Or was this legit, right? Maybe it was a team building day where John rented a boat for his team. Items along those lines. I'm going to go ahead and pull up just a quick example of Verify and show you how that's going to look. Bear with me 1 second. My screen is loading. In the Q&A, feel free to ask any questions. We see some coming through already in there. A lot of functionality we're going through in a short amount of time here. The one piece I want to call out, obviously this webinar is intended to get you excited and interested in really the knowledge of what's out there and what most VC companies are leveraging today. We are more than ready to dig in and kind of look at the specifics of your organization and what applies to you. My day-to-day, again, is that technical functional deep dive of saying, hey, that's cool, John, but how does it work for us with our rules and those sort of things? So feel free to reach out. This should be loading here. Bear with me 1 second. Can you guys confirm if you can see this report's pending audit? It should come up in just 1 second.
Yep, we can see it.
Excellent. Cool. Sorry about that. So ultimately, the last piece of Verify I wanted to highlight today, AI scans all of those things and it puts it into a queue and calls it out. It says, hey, we've got a problem here, right? This is where internally it's pulled the needle out of the haystack, put it on a plate for you and said, what do you want to do about this, right? We found this issue. This instance, it says business dinner. John submitted his report, but also Jane submitted their report with the same receipt on this date. What's going on here, right? And it's calling those things out, which again, maybe we were both there and both snapped the picture and we're both trying to get reimbursed for it. This would be incredibly difficult for just a human to catch or remember that, hey, we had this same sort of receipt pop through. AI will scan these and call that out. You then get to take action and say, okay, what do we want to do about it, right? This is fail, send it back to John. Pass with exception. Pass with exception would be like, okay, I'm going to let this slide this time, but I want the exception that I can report on, where again, I can in turn run metrics or run reports and say, hey, John was flagged 50 times for alcohol this year. What's going on, right? I guess he's just not getting our policy. Or it's no longer when you're creating a policy, it's not based on feelings. Like I feel like we have a lot of non-itemized receipts, or I feel like a lot of things don't match. You actually now have hard data to walk into those conversations and make policy changes based on that. So that is Verify. Again, there's a lot of functionality, customizations that you can do with all these products today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or again, reach out after today's call. We are more than happy to chat and dig in on any of those things. So with that, that's all I've got for today. I think our next portion would be the Q&A. I'll jump ahead over to that. Sorry, I'm a little slow on my slides here.
No worries, that was great. Thank you, John. Thanks for the insights there. Zach, thank you so much as well. We did have quite a few questions coming in today. I have a couple here that I'll ask. One is specifically on budget. So John, I think this one would be for you. The question is, can we create individual user budgets, specifically allowing employees to be reimbursed up to a certain amount per year for health and wellness? It's difficult to track. Could budget be helpful in that scenario?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So budgets, again, you can create as many budgets as you want with our budget product. And that could be, you know, a project based to say, hey, we've got $150,000 to spend on this project, department based or individual based, as that question states. And we see that all the time where it might be, hey, we give X number of dollars per month for gym reimbursement. But in theory, they don't have to do it every month, as long as they don't go above this dollar amount. Cell phone is a big one nowadays as well, where they're like, they get X number of dollars. I don't care if they spend 100 this month and 500 next, as long as it doesn't go over 600, right? And budget absolutely can track all of that and limit the spend, things along those lines for sure. Individual budgets are quite a popular piece, especially in the VC-backed space. Yep, good question.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that answer. Yeah, I know a lot of VC-backed companies want to leverage budget these days. So thanks for touching on that. And then one other question we'll ask is, and I think Zach, this one would probably pertain to you. What is the best way to avoid budget and overspend surprises?
That's a great question, and I think it fits quite well with what John just explained a bit about budget. From my perspective, having a tool, if I had the budget tool that Concur offers back when I was running a spend management program, it would have been game changing. Just flat out having that information feed into a dashboard for a manager to be able to see, spend even before it happens is critical. They've got full control at that point. But a budget might not be for everybody, so there are other options too. And so going back to my comment about real-time data and having information and access to that from reporting. So Concur offers a wide variety, a library full of standard reports you can pull and distribute those out to folks with real-time information in it. And Concur also offers a solution called consultative intelligence that a team of reporting experts on the Concur side can help you build any and all types of reports that you might want to dispense out. And those can also come with a bursting feature. And so it's automated. That information can go out to your management, to the budget holders at will, whenever you would like it to. So it kind of, again, saves your time on the back end. It helps you eliminate some of those surprises that otherwise people get too late in the game to make a difference on.
Perfect. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, I get that question a lot from a lot of our VC-backed companies. So thank you. There are some other questions that came in. Feel free to reach out to me directly on those. But I just want to say thank you to everyone today for joining this conversation. Appreciate Zach walking us through his journey, John showcasing some of the best practices within the Concur solution. As a reminder, this recording will be sent out with a recap of the conversation today. So feel free to contact myself for any further questions or how we can best support your portfolio company in your guys' spend management journey. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.